Hi there, my name's John Ferguson Smart, and I'm here to present you with a brand new video series called Bite-Size Serenity. It's a series of short tidbits about various features of the Serenity framework. And in this first episode, I want to take a look at a feature that's fairly new. It's only come out in version 2.0.20 called transitional screenshots. Now, Serenity has always seen screenshots as a really important part of the reporting process for UI tests. They tell the story of the user's journey through the application as they try and achieve some business goal. Serenity records the user interactions with the UI, where they click, where they select, and what happens to the UI as a result. But of course, just recording these interactions isn't enough. We also need context. We need information about what the user was trying to achieve at that point in time. And this is why if we're using Cucumber, we've got our given when then steps. If we're using Screenplay, we've got reusable business tasks. And this helps us describe what the user is doing, not only in terms of what they do to the UI, but why they're doing it and what business goal they're trying to achieve. Now, what we call transitional screenshots are a way that help us capture what the user is doing at these different levels, whether it's at a business task or whether further down at the UI level. Let's have a look at the code and see what this looks like. So here's our demo application that we're going to be using for this example. You can find it on GitHub in the link at the bottom of this video. We're going to be exercising the To-Do MVC application, which is a simple application where you use a JavaScript framework to maintain a to-do list. And here are our scenarios. We have a feature, add new to-dos, and we have some different scenarios. So we want the case where James adds an item to the list, where James adds items to an existing list, and when there are several people who add items to their respective lists. Now these steps are described at a business level. We've got James who starts with an empty list and Jane who starts with a list containing these items. And when we step into any of these steps, if we go, when Jane buys some cereal to her list, we'll go into the code itself where we exercise more low-level tasks. So in this case, we've got Jane adds some elements to her list. The actor in the spotlight, that would be Jane, she attempts to add a to-do item called item. When we step inside this task, we see what happens. We enter a particular value, the to-do item that Jane wants to add, into a particular field, which is the new to-do field, and then hit the return button. So these are the interactions with our screen, whereas the step that we had before, that was the business level task that we want to achieve. Now, when we run this, we'll step through the application and we'll see what the user journey would be through this application, through this use case. Let's run this from the command line. The instructions on how to run this are on the README for this project on GitHub or underneath the video. Here I'm going to say Maven, clean, verify, and I'm going to run with the Cucumber profile so that I can see the results of the Cucumber tests. And when I run this, it's going to open up Firefox and step through the application. So here you can see an example of the application starting up, adding a to-do item, and then finishing off. So now it's starting up again, adding several to-do items, and then closing the browser again. Now that the tests have completed, let's look at the results. We were looking at the Add New To-Dos feature. Let's have a look at this scenario when James adds an item to an empty list and to see what we mean by transitional screenshots. When you run a Serenity test, a Serenity UI-based test, Serenity records screenshots at key moments. For example, in this test, we're using Screenplay, and Screenplay allows us to take screenshots at the start and the end of each task or UI interaction. And What you can see here is that each step represents a kind of a state transition. In this first one, given James has an empty to-do list, we have the start state. We didn't do very much. We just opened the page, so there's no changes happening here. So we just show one screenshot, the initial home page. But in the next step, when he adds buy some milk to the list, what's happening is the UI interaction that James is making. So James is doing something to the UI, and this is causing the UI to change its state. It goes from the state of having nothing in the list to having buy some milk in the list. And that's what we're representing here. With this little arrow, it means that we're going from one state to another state. And then in the third step, we've got this state. All we're doing is checking the outcome. So there's no change in the UI. We only need one screenshot for this case. Now, when we have a case like this, when he adds buy some milk to his list, we go from one state to another state. We can open that out and see the details. And in the details, we can break this down. James adds the item to his item called buy some milk. What does that involve? Well, he enters buy some milk into the what needs to be done field. And we can see that's what happens here. And we can see that transition between our initial state and our final state. And that's what I wanted to show you in today's bite-sized Serenity tidbit. I hope you found it useful. If you do want to learn more about Serenity BDD, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And also check out the Serenity Dojo site. There's a link underneath the video. Here you can find a rich curriculum of online video training about Serenity BDD and also about other BDD and test automation practices in general. There are also plenty of free introductory videos for you to take a look at. So please do check it out. So until next time, this is John Ferguson Smart signing out.